Welcome to Main Street, Nevada County. My name is Jim Firth. I am the host of Main Street, Nevada County. Our special guest today is Mr. Dan Miller, the chair of the Nevada County Board of Supervisors. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Jim, it's a pleasure to be here, sit down, talk to you.
Great, thank you. We do have a lot in common. In particular, both of us do enjoy the steak dinners at the Willow Restaurant. But that's really not the main focus of our conversation today. We want to talk about issues of importance within Nevada County. I guess the first important thing for all of us here is how the Board of Supervisors' adoption of a ban on outdoor growing of marijuana that has come about and has been challenged a little bit. There will be an initiative on the ballot in June. I'm wondering how you feel about that, what you feel in terms of how medical marijuana is perhaps different from the other illegal growing of marijuana that takes place, or it has been surmised that it takes place here in Nevada County.
Well, Nevada County was characterized by the Sacramento Bee article not too long ago by Peter Heck as a legendary pot growing area in California. And certainly as someone who's lived here since 1962 and seen the community change, I don't really believe that's a reputation that promotes growth, especially as far as families moving in or businesses exploring Nevada County as a possible relocation area. One of the things that I had to struggle with was constituents and the increasing intrusion of marijuana grows into our neighborhood, where the quality of life of residents was being affected. Certainly, we had been talking to the sheriff about alternatives to what was the old cultivation ordinance that was adopted in 2012, and to make it more strict in order to deal with the illegal grows that we had been experiencing and what our constituents had been complaining about. And so he came up with, let's ban the outdoor grow, because really that's where the majority of the complaints were coming from. It was the outdoor grows that were causing neighborhoods to change, become unsafe, and so that's what we adopted. The consequence, however, we knew we were going to get pushback if you did an outdoor ban on the cultivation, and we were going to get typically a pushback from not so much the large cultivators, because they really want to maintain a low profile. They don't want to show their face in public. It was from the people who were saying that medical marijuana needed outdoor growing in order to produce a quality of marijuana that they felt was necessary for their use for medical purposes. I certainly don't oppose Prop 215 and a person's legal right to access medical marijuana, and no one on the board does. The consequences came when you had children like Silas Hurd, who his father says needs a special strain of marijuana in order to handle his epilepsy. And the last few days I've been doing a lot of going online, trying to understand the type of syndrome that Silas has. The Epilepsy Foundation, the American Association of Pediatrics, and all of their research and studies show that there is, there's the possibility, there's hope that cannabis can be used for treatment and to lessen the severity and the frequency of these seizures. And I hope that's true. Stanford did a study, UCSF's doing one, and it's one of those unintended consequences that we knew we were going to get pushback on, but we had to address the outdoor grows because they were becoming increasingly more frequent in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, so some of the criticism certainly has been from those folks who find that medical marijuana, which I personally support and have supported for 20 years since it became legal is that the people who rely on that medicine are finding themselves caught in a ban that has been instituted to address large scale growing.
Right.
And it's something that, from my investigation of it, is that the people who are in need of medical marijuana, want to comply with the law. They want to comply as best they can with the restrictions that were put in place a year ago that allowed them the opportunity to grow what they needed for their medical needs outdoors. And that the benefit of having the circulation around a plant out of doors, the way that the sunlight as opposed to electricity benefits the growth and the health of the plant, the soil, the watering, all of the elements that go into a medical marijuana plant that I agree go into a large scale operation as well. Without that ability to grow what they need in terms of their medicine, they're going to be shut out of being able to have the medicine they need, not just Silas, and I feel very badly for that family, but for others who have other strains of medical marijuana that they need to satisfy their medical issue. And I know that Nevada County is going to be voting in June on this. I know that the Board of Supervisors has said that they will take another look at this issue should the initiative fail. But in the language of the ballot measure, there's no guarantee, frankly, that a continuation of some ban on outdoor growing won't still take place. I mean, how can you assure us there will be an ability for folks who need the medical marijuana will have an ability through whatever you're thinking about, at least as a board member, to see that accommodation will be considered should this measure W fail in June?
Yeah, and that was the way the ballot measure was written. It was disappointing to me. And so what the board did was come back with a resolution of intent so that if in fact Measure W fails in June, the board has obligated themselves to eliminate the outdoor ban and sit down with a group of stakeholders to craft something that makes sense where there would be some permitted outdoor growing, but not to the degree that most people would expect. Here's an instance. I just spent 3 days down in San Jose at a conference, and it was attended by supervisors from all over California and CEOs and CAOs of the counties. And I know a couple of supervisors from Mendocino County, and so I went and I asked them, okay, Mendocino County, what are you guys doing as far as medical marijuana? How are you going to tackle the problem? And they said, we don't have any choice. We don't have any options. What we're going to do is we will adopt the state regulations, and then we're going to hope we get 5% compliance. Right now, they allow 25 plants outdoors, and for them to try and reduce that number would be impossible for them to do. But Mendocino's put themselves in a position now where it is so culturally ingrained in their community that all they can do is put the state regulations in place and hope that they're going to get some compliance. So they just basically are throwing their hands up in the air out of frustration because of what's going on. Humboldt County, the same thing. I talked to Virginia Bass briefly, and Humboldt County, they have to encourage it because there's no way to reverse what's going on in Humboldt County. Nevada County, we still have a choice. We still have a choice of whether we want to be known as a county that encourages cultivation, or we want to be a county that says, no, that's not the culture we want, but we do want to allow for the people who have a legitimate need for medical marijuana to cultivate it. We did the outdoor ban simply because it had crept into our neighborhoods to the extent that people were feeling threatened. They were effective and impacted by the negative smell and the increased traffic in their neighborhoods because of illegal growing. So you ban it outdoors, you eliminate that, but you do a per parcel restriction and allow up to 12 plants indoors. If in fact Measure W passes, that will stay in place. If it fails, we will come back and sit down with stakeholders and craft something that meets the needs of the medical marijuana patients, not the needs of the commercial cultivators. And that is what we're trying to discourage, is people coming in thinking Nevada County is wide open and starting large cultivation grows again, Jim.
Right. No, and I agree with you.
Yeah,
I don't encourage large-scale outdoor cultivation of marijuana for commercial purposes. I think that would be a mistake for Nevada County as well. But I do, as I've said, support the growing of medical marijuana for patients who have that need for that kind of medicine. If Measure W does pass, and given what you're saying here today, do you feel that since there may be a voter-instituted initiative to change that law in the future, which is now if it does pass, the only way to change it, and something can be worked out with the stakeholders of the medical marijuana community, do you feel that's something that either you or other members of the Board of Supervisors would be willing to look at in the future should Measure W pass?
I guess my response is going to be, let's see what happens with Measure W. If Measure W does pass and groups such as Americans for Safe Access, Patricia Smith, want to sit down and discuss the possibilities of another voter initiative, happy to sit down with them. I certainly respect what they're trying to do, and it's unfortunate that people who have legitimate needs are being affected by the large illegal grows. If something can be worked out, certainly I'm always open to something like that, and I certainly respect what Patricia tries to do, and others who really want to tackle this problem.
Good.
So certainly.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's going to be an issue. It's ingrained in the culture of some communities, not so much.
I guess the bottom line is I have a son who has type 1 diabetes, and my wife and I struggled with that over the years, and there were nights where we were afraid to go to sleep because we didn't know if his insulin was going to work or if we were going to wake up and he was going to be in a diabetic coma. And so I can understand what Forth is going through with Silas and the other children in our community and what their parents have to experience, because it's traumatic. And there's no way that either you or I could understand what a parent feels like to lose a child. And it's tragic, and the emotional toll it takes on parents has to be overwhelming. But so as far as Silas and those children are concerned, I'll do everything I can to help them. It's just that our county's at a point now where we have to deal with a real significant problem, and at the same time try and protect them. And we're hoping that the allowance of 12 indoor plants will help take care of that. The other thing, that looking at the UCSF studies and the Stanford studies and what's going on there, I'm hoping that there's be access for the type of tincture that Silas and the other children are going to need in order to control or somewhat eliminate the number of seizures they have.
Right. Thank you. We're going to move on to another topic here now, but this has been very helpful and interesting for me. Homelessness is a continuing problem nationally and in Nevada County. The county is working to consolidate the availability of services for its homeless population, and many county residents want to see the county find solutions. In addition to consolidating these services, do you feel that finding permanent housing for the homeless population and asking for a financial subsidy for some of that housing is something that the county would be willing to undertake?
Well, a lot of people don't understand that the county programs $8.5 million a year for low-income, homeless, unemployed populations in our county. What we try and work through is a program we call Continuum of Care, where you have different county agencies and nonprofits working together, trying to structure programs and paths for homeless people to get out of that cycle that they find themselves in. As far as subsidizing permanent housing, we house approximately 150 county individuals who have had mental issues and move them into independent living. So we have, and a lot of people know this, we have houses that the Nevada County Housing Authority has purchased throughout our community that house up to 6 individuals in permanent housing. So we use that as a transitional program, so they come out of a more structured program into something that gives them independent living experiences, and they can operate through that. But we also contribute to the Hospitality House, the Boast House, the Manzanita House, and so through all of that and trying to use CalWorks as an opportunity for people to retrain themselves, and there's about $8.5 million in there that the county uses. I personally think that the county is responsible for infrastructure, to make infrastructure available so private development can come in and construct housing. The county's not in the house building business. That has to come from outside, from private interest. What we can do is prepare an environment so that it's attractive, and we have a housing shortage. We actually right now have 200 Section 8 vouchers that we use for individuals to get into permanent housing that are being used. The Regional Housing Authority of Sutter and Nevada County, where I sit on that board, looking at another location in the Glenbrook area for 40 to maybe 80 more low-income housing units that can be built there. And then the city and the county just came into an agreement where out East Bennett Road and then also in the Glenbrook, there's going to be an availability for up to 300 more units. But it still has to be private development, private money that does that. The county doesn't designate money for actual building projects. We designate money for programs that help get people out of homelessness. We're looking at what Seattle's doing, what Eugene, Oregon, what Sacramento's looking at, what San Francisco, but it's different. They're large metropolitan areas. We're a small rural county where we don't have that availability of the land or availability of funds in order to experiment on tent cities and try and do things that people would like us to do.
I don't think anybody's looking at tent cities as a solution. There have been small houses that have been investigated in some communities around the country, in rural areas as well as in urban areas, as an opportunity type of housing for very low income, sometimes homeless, oftentimes veterans who are looking to make their lives more stable so that they can lift themselves up and find a better path from some of what they've experienced.
Yeah, well, we're hoping what we've done, we just consolidated a number of departments over at Brighton Greens, and that ribbon cutting's tomorrow, as a matter of fact. And we're hoping that with Veteran Services over there, CalWorks over there, and other organizations that adults are going to be able to go there and get help and referrals from the VSO next to CalWorks, and hopefully that's going to be an incentive or an opportunity, a more streamlined process for people to actually take advantage of the county programs that are available for them. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about the small houses and availability of land, where's it going to be? And my concern is sanitation, security, and potable water. How's that going to be structured? But again, the county's model in their program is through that continuum of care, where a number of different organizations come together and coordinate their activities. Sure. And outreach.
Students graduating from high school in Nevada County are increasingly seeking additional education or employment outside of Nevada County. Is this a trend that you would like to see reversed, and how do you propose to address that if you see it as I have seen it and heard about it?
Well, it's a trend that I've seen since I was in high school, and it's the same problem that students who graduated in 1965 were experiencing back then is the lack of employment opportunities. Mm-hmm. Back in the 60s, you either went into the timber industry and worked 6 months out of the year and then were your unemployment for 6 months, or you worked in a grocery store or a gas station and you had full-time employment, or you worked for PG&E or the telephone company. So it's not unusual that communities face that problem simply because kids go off to college. They meet the love of their life who might live in another state, or the opportunities for employment aren't located here in Nevada County. They're located elsewhere. Fortunately for me, I went away for 10 years, mm-hmm. maybe 12. And I eventually came back, but circumstances in my life brought me back here. It wasn't employment that brought me back, it was just circumstances. But there's other students or graduates from the high school that I know who have actually come back here and started businesses or stayed here. But the number that come back is low, and until we reinvent ourselves again as far as what type of employment we're trying to do. And we're looking at, obviously Economic Resource Council is bringing that digital media campus here where right. We're going to benefit the high-tech industry and perhaps be an attractive place for people to relocate.
Yeah, and I see that as one of the main opportunities right. for Nevada County is bringing that digital media enterprise back into Nevada County, yeah. the way the Grass Valley Group began some time ago.
There's a lot of remote employment
right.
that people have here, so they can work for their home, but work for Hewlett-Packard down in the Bay Area. Right. And so that happens a lot now.
Right. My son-in-law has a situation like that where he lives in New York. He doesn't live in the city, and he doesn't have to go to the city. Right. So he works from home and is able to work in the city without being there.
That's a nice advantage.
It is indeed. The Nevada County Board of Supervisors has not taken an official position regarding whether or not the county would endorse an ad hoc group known as the State of Jefferson. Do you see any pathway for the State of Jefferson proponents to succeed in their effort?
Let me say first that we've done everything we possibly can to let them know we're not interested without actually having a board resolution that says, no, we do not support the State of Jefferson. What we tried to do was, Rick Haffey has his Friday memos, and so instead of putting it on the agenda that would have given the State of Jefferson another platform, we had Rick state in his Friday memo that Board of Supervisors really is not entertaining the notion of joining the State of Jefferson. Personally, like yourself, I was born a Californian. I like being a Californian. Mm-hmm. I always want to be called a Californian. And so for all its warts and pimples, I love the state of California. I don't see a path for the state of Jefferson. I think they've lost a couple of counties because I think people really look more into it. I don't think that forming your own state because you don't like what's going on in Sacramento is the way to do it. You elect people from your area that are going to work for you, and if they're the different party, will cross the aisle and try and work with members of the other political party. And I think that's what we have in Brian Dahlke especially, is Brian tries to work with the Democratic majority and for issues that are important to Northern California, which he represents. And, it works sometimes, and obviously other times we know it doesn't work.
Right.
But you elect legislators who are confident and who understand the process and who are willing to cross the aisle. And so I respect Brian for what he's trying to do for our community and work with people from the other party.
Yeah,
So
good.
I don't think financially it's feasible for a state of Jefferson.
All right, thank you. We're just about out of time. I apologize about that. We figured that might happen. I do want to invite people who have watched this program before, that Mr. Miller is going to be a guest at a First Tuesday Educational Forum on April the 5th at the Peace Lutheran Church, beginning at 5:30 in the afternoon. The First Tuesday Educational Forums are sponsored by the Nevada County Democrats. The church is at 828 West Main Street, and I hope that if you're unable to come, that we will be able to have this program for you to view on the Nevada County Democrats website, and we're hoping to tape our future First Tuesday Educational Forums. Thank you, Dan, very much again for being here.
Jim,
Appreciate
my
your
pleasure,
time.
as always.
Thank you.